Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Wanda.
I'm Ron.
And we have a special guest, Utokia, with us today.
Good. So it's good to have you, Utokia. Of course, if you've seen some of our other shows like Power and The Godfather, she's been with us before. So she is family. So if you stay tuned, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
One burnt you, know that ain't cool. Wanna show you how I'm nothing like him. Swear that's the truth. So you can't trust.
Well, welcome back. And as Ron was saying, we have a special guest, Utokia. And I thought it was fitting to have Utokia on this episode because Utokia is a wonderful chef.
Yes, she is.
She has wonderful sweet potato pies that I'm missing because we're social distancing. And, at the end of this video, she can share how you can get in touch with her. So she's here to discuss The Chi, season 3, episode 4, Gangway. And we want to get right into that.
So, it's just straight fire for me. I love this show. I loved it. It just keeps getting better and better and better. And so I think this is, I thought last week was my favorite. This one has to be, bar none, my favorite episode so far. Of all the 3 seasons, I might add.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot. Yes, ma'am. Saying a lot.
Well, I think that's because, your namesake, Ronnie, really stepped up this episode. Because I think we should start there with Ronnie.
There? Excellent.
Yeah, we can start with Ronnie.
Remember, I said earlier on, and maybe the first or second episode, that I kind of wanted to see him step up this season, and become the man I think we knew Ronnie could become. And so slowly but surely, we see him fitting that mode. So this thing when he, last episode, he's at the vigil and he notices this white guy that's at the vigil and he's acting a little strange. And so Ronnie decides to go out and follow the guy. And lo and behold, he follows him to the guy's spot. So what did you think about that? What did you think about it?
Yeah,
I think I'm sorry, Tiff, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say go ahead.
Well, I think he's super motivated, right? He's trying to work off some karma.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to, regain his standing and make his mother proud. So he's definitely motivated, and it seems as if he's gonna get somewhere. Everybody else is talking the talk, but he's actually going out there and actively searching for her.
Absolutely. And as Gray said, he has nothing to lose.
Nothing.
Exactly.
He's homeless. He has nothing to lose.
Been in jail before. He has nothing to lose.
Yeah. He's a pariah in the community. He has nothing to lose. Right. And everything to gain by being a hero here.
I think above anything else, though, it's his opportunity. If you remember the last episode, the pastor told him the first thing you have to do is forgive yourself, right?
Right.
I think that by him, if he's able to find Keisha, then that'll be his opportunity where he feels like he can finally forgive himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, that's what I think. I think he's seeking, not just repentance, but also just forgiveness, because
forgiveness, redemption.
You have to forgive yourself, then you repent to the Lord, etc. So I think that is, and I'm happy for him. He's been dealt a hard hand for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm actually, I'm really happy for him. I've always seen his character as very charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice how he, treats women, he's always been a stand-up kind of guy who ended up just falling into, issue after issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for him. I hope that this comes, it turns out to be something really good for him.
I hope so. And I wanted to say with Ronnie, last week, Tracy, his former love interest, she was the one leading the group and everything to help find Keisha. And I'm glad she has a support group, but I think everybody forgot that she was the one to put the battery in Ronnie's back to get the killer of her son.
Mm-hmm.
So, she did kind of put the battery in his back. He shouldn't have gone out there and did it. He shouldn't have done it, but she kind of did put the battery in his back to go out there and do that.
Well, I'm glad whatever stimulus he had or needed to get himself motivated to do it, to do right. I'm glad, and I think with he seeing Papa's father and actually talking through some things with him, and I think that's been a big help. And as we see, as you were saying, actually in the next episode, that there's a change coming for Ronnie.
Yeah.
That's a big change. And I think that if he can happen to, put the bottle down, and I think that's his biggest vice right now is that bottle, that drinking. And if that can help him put that bottle down, I think he can become the man that his mother wanted him to become, or what she saw in him in the beginning.
Well, the bottle is about masking the pain.
Sure.
So once he can get through the process of the forgiveness that Utopia was talking about, it'd be easier for him to put that bottle down.
But it's hard to forgive yourself sometimes, particularly when when you've been there so long. That's a demon that doesn't go away lightly.
No.
So it's something that he has to be able to spiritually try to help control, because I think it's going to take an army of heavenly spirits to help him get away from that, because it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
But it looks like he wants to change now.
He does want to change. You can tell. Like he really wanted to be the one to help with Keisha and everything. I'm really behind Ronnie. And I like Dre. I like Dre. He took a risk going to the house to go talk to her and everything, and Dre was on board. Dre is ride or die. I like that about her.
She was a little closed-minded at first, because she had her bat and she didn't want to let him in. When Ronnie went to her house to talk to her about it, I was saying to myself, come on, Dre, lighten up a little bit. I understand how you feel about Ronnie. And
he did kill a person. I mean, come on now. He killed a person. He killed a child. Yeah. And she is still a woman.
Well, I got it.
I might have had
No. Hey, no mas. I got it. I understood why she was where she was at that time. But I'm glad she settled down and allowed herself to hear him. Okay. That I'm happy to see. I'm happy to see that she was able to settle down and hear Ronnie out.
Well, he showed the pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember, he showed the pictures. So he was smart enough. He saw what he saw in that place, and he said, I'm going to bring some proof. Because he knew, that nobody trusts him right now. So he did what he needed to do to make sure that she would listen to him.
Exactly.
And they pulled up on him, and he was a whole pedophile.
Yeah. Unrepentant pedophile.
Right. And it looks like he might be a murderer, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that body that they found. That must have been his work.
Yeah, he said he didn't mean to hurt her and all this stuff, so he did it.
He did.
And the thing we found out, a very pivotal scene at the very beginning of the episode, that Keisha had a tattoo at the bottom of her back that her mother didn't know about, but Dre knew about it, and thank goodness Dre did know.
Yes.
Well, the only thing that threw me about that, him telling them where the body was, he's been to the visuals, he's seen the flyers. Like, did he not know that wasn't Keisha? Or was he just desperate not to get beat down because Ronnie was, beating him up? I mean, that's the only thing that kind of threw me sometimes in this writing thing. It doesn't seem realistic,
Well, for me, he's white. And we used to say all the time, white folks think we all look alike. Number two,
right?
Number two, I don't think he had no emotional ties with those young women. So even to recognize their faces, he probably couldn't tell his first from his last. So I gave that to the writers to say, okay, I'm still on board with that.
Okay.
Or he
pick that one.
or he's just there to to pick up on community folks talking, that even if it was someone different and he knew it, maybe at this vigil they'll be talking about the other girl, because he was there, I'm thinking, to see whether or not anybody is on to him. You know what I mean? I think that's why a perpetrator would go to the vigil, to see whether or not someone is on to them, just to kind of, keep their ear to the ground and figure out what's going on.
That's what I thought too. I took it another way. Criminals like to sit back and look at their work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think
that too.
You know, he was, you know, there to kind of, you know, is this my work? That, you know, how, you know, look at what I did. You know, I caused all this. So they like to sit back and look at, you know, some of the things they've done, and that's a reason they get caught so many, you know, most of the time, because they're so busily trying to, you know, admire their work.
But he was too jittery to be that. A lot of times the folks that are hanging around, the criminals or whatever, they're kind of confident that they feel like they're outsmarting the police and everything. He was, you know, Ronnie picked up right away that this guy was jittery.
Well, he was in a neighborhood he had no business being in, for one thing, and it was nighttime, so he had every right to be jittery.
Well, I think too that Lena, and this is what I love about this show, she is so bold in touching on so many subjects that are taboo to a lot of people.
True.
And, you know, I think that she finds moments to highlight certain topics, even if it doesn't necessarily tie in with the story, like it wasn't Keisha, right? But she showed, okay, these pedophiles are out here, they're living next door to you, they're still sick. He obviously can't control himself, right? He just got out. He don't want to go back to jail, but yet he's still out doing what he's got to do, or what he feels he needs to do. Just like in the last episode where, you know, they highlighted the sex trafficking, and she wasn't there either, right? But I thought about that before they even, that episode played out. I was like, I bet you they're going to bring up something about sex trafficking, but it just ties into Lena's thought process. She's always she drops nuggets. Like, it reminds me of Spike Lee in his movies, you know, always just dropping bombs, like boom, boom, like this is not the movie, but boom, right? I get excited for that.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then what she's saying is that we can't wait for the police to find our daughters, that we're going to have to take it into our hands, and we're going to have to police our own communities, and we're going to have to protect our communities ourselves and not depend on other people to do it.
Right.
It takes a village.
The young lady, the woman that was running as mayor.
That was Lena.
Lena, right. Yeah. So I loved what she was talking about, you know, because
her message was on point.
She was absolutely on point. And I think that's what we all are talking about. She, you know, that's what this city needs. We have to take it out of the police's hands. They don't care. We know that. They don't care. They don't have the manpower. And even if they did, I don't think they would be as amenable to finding our Black kids and preventing this crime that we know that's happening in Chicago and everywhere else. So it does take a village, and we're going to have to do it ourselves.
Right. Well, what did you think about the fact that after she gave her discussion, her speech, that she was giving money to Papa's dad?
Okay, look.
I was like, okay.
Look, you know.
It's still Chicago. You got to pay to play.
Yes, and that's what I said. I was saying that to my son because he thought that Papa's dad was selling drugs. I said, no, she was paying for the platform.
Yeah, right.
And question, how often does that happen? You know, in real life, in real terms. What we saw was not just a facade for television. I think it happens all the time.
Listen, I think Empower Rashad Tate was doing the same with that pastor. You know what I mean? People do it all the time.
All the time.
But you know what? I'm eager to hear the conversation between Papa and his father, though, because you know that's not the end of it. You know he's going to question that.
Disappointed.
Yeah,
because Papa has all these morals and everything that he's been taught by his dad, and he holds his dad in, you know, in high esteem. And then to walk in and see, you know, her paying pretty much for the platform, his vote. Yeah.
That's a commentary. I think that's a commentary on the Black church.
That's
and how typically these pastors have allowed their pulpits to be platforms for various people's message to the benefit of the pastor mostly.
Right.
Whether it's a direct payment or if it's other benefits to their quote unquote church charitable organizations. You look at in the 90s, early 2000s, a lot of these church who were supporters of our conservative Republicans, but they were able to open up schools. You know what I mean? That I mean, that's her way, like you said, of having this commentary on all these things that are impacting us and doing it in a way fitting within the storyline. But if you're paying attention, she's speaking very loudly, right?
Yes.
Oh, she is.
Right. I mean,
her point of view is very clear.
And look, let's be honest. There are two types of payments: direct payment and in kind. So, so as you said, it happens all the time. So, hey.
Well, we can talk about the other mayoral candidate, Douda.
And his wife.
Yeah,
because he's using his platform as well.
Yeah.
And I told you that he was using Jake. I mean, I see he wants a son too. It comes out that he and his wife, which is Candy Barris, shout out to her, my favorite housewife on Atlanta. And she's a boss. She is Douda's wife.
Right.
And he is using Jake too to look like he has his family to have this platform.
But look, Jake stepped up. You saw how
Jake did step up.
Did he not step up and be Mr. Political?
Now he didn't even like Gemma, the young lady that Kevin is seeing, but he saw an opportunity he took it. He was like, "This is my dad."
Yeah, and to put Douda in line with this man that has he has a sizable bank account. So I'm like, look at Jake. Jake is like, he's on point.
Well, Jake said it. He said a week or so ago that he was smarter than Reg and everything. So he's getting the best of both worlds. He's gonna get a good education, and he knows the streets. So he's gonna be right. I said to my son, I said he and Kevin, like Kevin is learning to be street smart, but he's very smart. And I was like, he's gonna have the best of both worlds, like Ghost and Tariq.
Yeah. Well,
I tell people all the time, it is it is such a benefit to be street smart, more so than it is sometimes to be book smart.
Oh, definitely.
So believe me, Jake is going. I think he's going to surprise us a lot. But one thing that really, impacted me was the conversation between Douda and his wife in the car, because what it did was it flipped Douda for a second, right? Because it showed another side of him talking about how, and here are these little nuggets of bombs again, right? Talking about how his teacher and the impact on teachers and how they will show this lasting effect on people, right? And so they talked about the teacher saying that, he'll never be a mayor from Inglewood, right? And then he also talked about how, he knew it was just too dangerous for him to be a father at that time, but he really wanted. So it showed like a little sensitive side with gangster, killer / whatever else he's doing, right? I like that a little bit, because at the end of the day, we're all human, right? And not every thug or gangster, or there are sides to people sometimes. Now, sometimes there's just, straight criminal. But oftentimes, it usually is a means to get out of where they were. And so they have this part of them that have some good in them.
Yeah, he had a plan, because Candy said, look, I'm calling her by her real name.
What is her name? Her character.
Wife said, she was like, you never wanted children before. And he was like, I thought it was too dangerous. And you can see that, okay, maybe he does really care for Jake. Because at first I was like, okay, he's just using Jake for the campaign. But when he said that I've always wanted a son, I was like, okay. So it's multi-layered.
I think he had an epiphany about himself, his life, where he's going, because he was very thoughtful in the car. And based on what he said about his upbringing and the teacher and what the teacher said, I can see how that would stay with a man, that would stay with him. And yeah, he took another turn and became whatever, streetwise, but given the opportunity and the means, he's turning it around.
Well, I think in the streets, the skills that you acquire are transferable skills to politics.
Oh, you can say that. You can say that again.
That's in life, not just politics.
Right. Definitely in politics. I think it's very fitting.
Think about drug dealers and the things that they got to go through selling the drugs.
Because politics there too.
It is politics there.
That's business 205. I mean, that's not intro to business.
They are accountants. They're accountants. They are chemists.
CEOs.
They are CEOs.
Yes, ma'am.
They have so
diplomats. You have to negotiate territory.
Hey,
they are soldiers.
Realtors.
Yeah.
Realtors. They got to know
All
the street, the territories, where to sell. I mean, they are everything rolled up in one. And just imagine if they just took the opportunity to find themselves and to see how important they are. And please.
Yeah. The sky would be the limit. Absolutely.
Would be the limit.
But yeah, I think that's why the writing is so phenomenal on the show, because it shows the characters. They show you a multi-dimensional character.
Yeah.
That, you know, people like people, they're very nuanced.
And that's what keeps the show so much alive, because they're not flat. You know, every week we're learning something different that you didn't know was there. And you know, and that's heavy.
Well, speaking of the writing being so good, I was so happy to see that the scene with Kevin and Gemma going to the Civil Rights Museum, and then the scene with Nina Simone, and it was Billie Holiday and everybody else, and I was like, y'all better come through having these young Black kids at the museum and learn about that. And I appreciated the commentary with Gemma saying her father wanted her to see that, you know, as positive dark-skinned women, so she wouldn't have a complex about her complexion, because that is a thing still in our community, you know. So that was good to see. I really like that Kevin is digging this girl, and you see that Gemma even Kevin's mom even likes her.
Oh, yeah.
I love Gemma.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do too.
I capital LOVE. She said,
Me too.
She said, oh, you getting mannish?
Like,
step down. Like, hold up, brother.
Right.
Yeah. But you know, what's interesting too is that you also seen Kevin develop this other part to his personality, his character, the way he hit the guy in defense of his sister. And it's almost that you see that even though he's smart, he's articulate, he has a good head on his shoulders, that the streets will sometimes bring out the worst in you. And it seems like it can be difficult to escape, you know, to escape that narrative, because even he, you know, having to deal with the frustration and the probably anxiety of his sister and not really having a place to express that.
I was going to say that he's carrying it around. He's still going to school. I was kind of unnerved by that teacher when she kind of was like, you know, from last week's episode, getting on him because he was talking during class. And I was like, does this teacher even know? Does she read the news that his sister is missing? Like,
he may not know.
He didn't get a pass.
And
he didn't get a
She did. Even if she did, she still may have done that.
Exactly.
You know, I had an issue when my father died with my daughter's, you know, teacher. Like, okay, we grieve too, you know.
Right. Well, you know, when my mother was sick, same thing. I had with my son too, and I had to check the teacher as well. Like, hey, we got a situation going on right now. So that, you know, our kids, we said that last week, they don't get the benefit of the doubt. And so I really liked the relationship between Kevin and Gemma. He even stepped to Jake when Jake tried to call her B. He said, "You better call her B again."
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. You're starting to see an aggressive side to him kind of surface, and what it makes me think is, like, when you're in a situation like that, you're looking for your lost child. Don't forget that you have another child there living and breathing.
And sometimes though, that's so hard.
Yeah, he can't be neglected.
We got a few minutes left, and I wanted to bring up the red table discussion with Will Smith.
Me too. And we still got to talk about my namesake Tiffany and Emmett.
That's why I just wanted to be quick about Will Smith and the red table, because we got about a couple of minutes left.
I'm interested to hear your opinion first.
Exactly.
I really saw the hurt in Will. Okay. I don't know all the particulars. You know, I know they say that Will has been doing his thing, and you know, Jada stepped out, and it looks like Will is having a very rough time with that. As a man, I understand why he's having that rough time, because, you know, women, when you all step out, it's emotional. And you don't do it often, but when you do, you're generally done with the area that you're in or with whomever you're with. And, you know, guys, they tend to just, you know, haphazardly do things and just be dumb and stupid about it. But I could see the pain in Will. You know what? We're going to have to table this for.
Okay, wait. I'm itching.
Yeah, that's why I said this is a real discussion. We should have it. We should have it.
I can't because it's going to take a while for. You know,
all right, I'm a hold my anxiety back. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I want to hear your thoughts, and because I know we all have thoughts about that. LaWanda and I talked about this offline.
I think it was a very mature conversation between two mature people who recognize that, you know, marriage is hard work. You're dealing with two complete whole people. Nobody's perfect.
Good.
And he recognized that too. So if he, you know, he had to be in a place of forgiveness, as she probably has too. He didn't tell his side of the story. She told hers because she's trying to be healed and she's not trying to have secrets.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And what were you saying, Utopia?
Honey, so this is my thing. And this is what stood out through that whole, everybody's caught up in entanglement and she did this. What stood out for me is when he said, well, you know, I've taken you through it. And she said, oh yeah, you've taken me through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they swung back and started talking about August and Jada again.
Mm-hmm.
It kills me. And Ron, you just touched on it. We know that Will stepped out on Jada, but men can do whatever they want, how many times they want. We are expected to hurt,
to forgive, and forget.
Move on. And as soon as your woman says anything toward, about another man, it's like, everything is just,
goodness.
The world.
There's no forgiveness to be had if the woman.
So when you say you see the hurt in his eyes, blah blah, I have no sympathy, zero sympathy for Will. And I know everyone, they are clowning him. Other people feel bad for him. They have made songs about the word entanglement. I mean, it's just gone on and on and on. But
train Scrabble boards.
I mean, you name it, but I have no sympathy for him because it kills me in this society where it's okay for a man to do whatever he wants as often as he wants. And the moment his woman steps out there, and one thing that you said, well, two things that you said, Ron. One, I do believe that most of the time it is emotional for women. That's number one. Not all the time, because there's some women that just like a little dang-a-lang, right?
Oh, yeah.
But most of the time it is emotional. But the second thing you said, I did not agree with. And you said, typically when a woman steps out, that she's done. That's not always true. Because if you tie it into the emotional gap that's there, typically they want that gap from their husband or their man. They may go out and do what they do on the side to get that temporary fulfillment. But if they had the opportunity to get what they are missing from their husband or their man, that's what they really want. So not necessarily are they done. And I know the perspective you're coming from, because with a guy, because it's physical, he can go in and out, right? Because it's just physical for him. But even the emotional piece can be borrowed, if you will, because you can borrow, you can say, I need some emotion, I need some love, I need some attention, I need some this, some that, and I want you to pour it into me because I'm not getting
Which is what she said. And too, because she said, I want it to feel good.
Right, exactly. Oh, he didn't like that. Now, he didn't like that part. He didn't like that part.
Yeah, because
I've said my piece. I have no sympathy for Will. I think it happens more often than people realize. I remember going to a marriage retreat, and it was about 200 couples in a room, and people were asked to stand up who had the same testimony about adultery. And let me just tell you, half of the room stood up, both male and female. And some of them have been through multiple cheating on both sides, and they brought it into Christ and they worked it out. But it's not an anomaly. This is something that happens all the time. It just so happened that Will and Jada are famous. Right. I'm happy that they stuck it out because it did give an example to the world. Like, people are focused on the wrong things. It did give an example to the world that you can work through these things and you can grow from it and you can have a stronger relationship out of it. So,
But it's like you said, it's an example of her being transparent and telling the truth and not having that rumor hang over her head. So I applaud her for that. She owed no one an explanation or excuse, but I think it's very freeing and liberated to talk about it and get it out there. So it's not whispers anymore. You know what I mean?
She took her power back.
If you think about the red table though, and what that represents, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about, I think that's one of the reasons Oprah got so famous, because she started telling her own truth.
Yeah.
If you really think about that, right?
Yeah.
So if you have the red table, and then all of a sudden, like you said, these rumors are starting to surface about her. The red table is about bearing your soul.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She almost had to do it.
But look what
she did. I was getting ready to say, because I said this to Ron yesterday. I saw August's interview, and when I saw August's interview, I said, Jada gonna have to say something, because that baby was in love, and you can see that from his interview. You can see the emotion, and I said, ain't no way that this ain't a rumor. I said she's gonna have to speak up now.
And that's the tragedy. That's the tragedy, be it male or female. That's the tragedy of this stepping out, because
third party.
August, I mean, this man is hurt. He's changed his whole appearance. And, you know, I mean, this guy, it's going to take a minute for him to get over it, because, you know, Jada did say her initial reason for getting with August is to help him.
Yeah.
Well, you broke that. So you in one sense helped him, but look at what you left. So
right.
I don't know what happens with August. And to be honest, I mean, I think because
he's healing.
Well, we can hope that. And you know, well, I know you don't feel any compassion for Will at all. But if I'm not mistaken, and then tell me if I'm right or wrong, even when they initially got married, they typically didn't want the traditional marriage. I think they wanted to do or be able to do their own thing. And that might have been, hey, look, you got a career, I have a career, you do your thing, I do mine.
That was never confirmed.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, I think that was never put that on them, but I don't think that they themselves said that.
Well, I don't know. I can't say that. But even you, Tiffany, yesterday, as you were bringing up how Jada and August, I mean, they were on the red carpet together. The way they were hugging up.
Yeah, he was part of their family pretty much. I mean,
yeah.
And
we
Will
saw
said that.
And we saw that same scenario.
You know, the family, you know, there was an outpouring of support from the family to him because he was very sick at first.
Yeah.
And the relationship grew from there.
I think if she had gotten somebody outside the relationship, we saw this before in Power with Sean. And, you know, it's
but people get involved with people who are
convenient.
closer to them.
Yeah, but
he was part of the family.
But Tiffany, I'm talking about, that's like a double-edged sword. You're getting cut on both ends.
Yeah.
Okay, this is no longer just about you cheating.
I can agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is no longer just about you cheating. You or Will.
It's about disrespect. Yeah.
I mean, when you know, because if I bring you in as family, and of course, August is the same age as their oldest son, right? Within a year or two.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So obviously they looked at him like a son. So
well, Jada didn't.
Well, Jada didn't, or at least
no, Jada didn't. And let me tell you, I met August before, and I understand.
See, now we got to get back to the shot because y'all are going crazy now.
Yes, because we didn't even get to talk about Emmett and Tiffany, my namesake.
Okay.
And I got to say before this episode, I'm not gonna say I didn't like Tiffany, but I kind of thought she was kind of a bird, you know. But this episode, I really understood her more when they went to counseling, when she talked about what she needed from him, because I was like, that's very relatable. I know I had a similar conversation in previous relationships, so I understand what she was saying that she needed from him. Mm-hmm. And I was glad to see Emmett step up.
Yeah, he did in a big way.
After that terrible advice from his father, when I saw him talking to his father, I was like, he is the worst person that he should be talking to about relationships.
And that's why a lot of men get a bad rap, because you got men like that giving advice. And
right.
And let me tell you, I don't believe he's the majority of what's out there. I
don't either.
And so it just so happens that's what we see play out. And, he couldn't have taken any worse advice. And to happen for his father to be telling him that kind of junk, I'm sitting there shaking my head. I'm thinking to myself, what are you trying to prove? What are you doing?
Yeah. Because it turns out that wasn't that case at all.
No,
she turned down Dante. Corey Hardrick, who shows up.
Yes, I was going to say Corey Hardrick. She turned down Dante. I said, okay. I said, Tiffany stood her ground.
Yeah, but
I was like, Dante's always be talking trash. Them Dante's.
Exactly.
But, you got to be careful doing this drug thing alone, going to guys' houses. I mean, come on now. It's only a matter of time. Because some of them aren't going to be as cordial.
Right. Dante did look kind of like a predator, right?
Yeah. Well, and he all but said it. He came out and told her what he wants. So she's gonna, and then had her sit on the couch saying, "Hey, I can cut out the lights." Be a little careful with what you're doing, Tiff.
Well, let me tell you where I thought the nugget, because remember we talked about all these nuggets that Lena's always dropping, right? So for me, it was in the counseling session. Number one, the fact that they went to a counseling session, right? Because there's this whole myth, especially in the Black community, especially amongst Black men, where they feel like they don't want to go to counseling because they feel like they're failing in some way or they're not good enough to work it out at home. So I like the fact that they had them to go into the counseling session, right? And then the nugget on top of that nugget was when they were talking and, you can hear them like talking at and over one another, and how the counselor was able to massage that conversation and really get to the heart of what the issue was, so that they actually listened and not just heard one another. And then he took that information and said, ooh, I can actually get what I want. And to me, it was like a lesson to like men and women out there to say, okay, you can get what you want in this relationship. You just got to put a little into it, and you have to know what it is you need to put into it. But the nuggets, again, were going to the counseling session, and then also just understanding that you can constantly talk over each other, all the time. And the last thing is counseling is effective. And
counseling is effective.
Yeah, and it shows it showed what communication can do. And when you sit down and not so much have to worry about the emotional swings that you get with communications, particularly when it's very poignant like that. So, Tiffany said what she had to say. Emmett said what he had to say, but they both listened to one another.
And that's what it is with when you take any classes like on emotional intelligence and things like that, they teach you how to be an active listener, not just waiting so you can speak your piece, but actually hearing that person out. And then responding.
Well, the good Lord knew what he was doing when he gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah. And a mentor too, because, he also talked to Sonny, and Sonny gave him advice too.
Yeah. He let him know it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think by him hearing that, like the second or third time, he finally got it.
Right. And I was proud of him. I said, okay. All right, Emmett. And then it brought us to the end of the episode, which brought me to tears. I was telling Ron because I was very afraid of what they were going to find. I was like, oh no, is Keisha dead? Especially when the mother got the call and everything. I was like, oh my goodness. But thankfully, even though unfortunately it was somebody else's daughter.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so that's still a tragedy.
Right. And that's what Nina said. I mean, she put it right. She said that it's still a tragedy. It's somebody else's daughter. It may not have been mine, but it's someone else's. And
that's the tragedy in that. Yeah. But I have to think that thanks to Ronnie, that person's family might get justice.
No, that's true.
Because of this white guy.
Right.
But now we still have a little bit of hope.
Right.
That Keisha might be found alive.
Right. And at least this young lady can be laid to rest.
Yes. And the hunt for Keisha is still on.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you guys if you had any predictions for next week's episode.
I don't think we're going to find Keisha yet.
No.
I think that's going to be an ongoing story.
I think so too.
I want to find her, but I don't think that we're going to find her early.
No, I don't think so either.
I think Ronnie's going to have his come to Jesus moment. And I'm very hopeful about it, but I think that it's going to be a battle between God and the bottle. I think we're going to see him slip back in that bottle a bit for whatever reason. I think he's probably going to be more tormented by the fact that they didn't find Keisha. So that's where I'm headed with this.
Well, the preacher kind of soothed his mind about that too, because he did help find another woman, another child. So,
but it's when you get alone with yourself and you start thinking, and then the bottle is calling you. It's whispering in your ear, and it's saying, "Hey, get a fifth. Let's do this together." Not that I've ever been a lush, but I'm just saying.
well, you sound like
right. You know an awful lot.
I live vicariously through other people.
Sound like some confessions over here.
No, I don't have
anyway.
Not me.
Anyway, I saw the previews for next week, so I think you're right. I think Ronnie's going to get baptized next week. It looks like I saw him in the street. I think he's still going to be actively looking for Keisha, for sure. And I agree with you, Tokia. I think now I have hope that they're going to find her alive. I think she's going to be in a messed up condition by the time we do find her. I think that will probably be a storyline for next season, because they're going to have to rehabilitate her after whatever she's been through.
And so I'm interested to see what happens to Kevin to make sure that he doesn't lose himself in all of this.
Yes. Okay, this has been a good discussion. I want Utopia to let the people know how to get in touch with her and your social media and all of that, because I know you have your own motivational mugs, you have your Sugar Mercy pies and all of that and stuff.
Yes. Let me pull one down for you real quick. So here's a little nice one. It says, "Loving the body and skin I'm in."
Oh yeah,
I heard that. I need that.
She got on her little joggers and her yoga and tea.
Okay, I need that mug. I like that.
Yeah, that's just one of many. So I can be reached at Sip in Life, SIPNLIFE. I also have my food blog, you guys. If you want to learn some great recipes, she's got flavor.com. And then lastly, and not least, Sugary Mercy sweet potato pies. Mercy. You can follow me all three places. Thank you.
And they are awesome.
Oh, beyond awesome.
Right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Please follow us on all our social media channels. You can see us on Spot Real Talk on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our channel. Click the notification bell so you can follow all of our videos. And we look forward to your comments down below.
Excellent.
Okay.
It's been fun. Gotta go. See you guys.
Gotta run. Next week. Tierra will be back next week.
Definitely. Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
You don't want facts, you don't want to hear another side. Rather sit back and be mad. You don't want to humanize anybody with a different view. Let them be or give them any kind of pass. You don't want this, you don't want that. You don't want to be cool, try to bridge gaps. Life is a whole lot better when you don't gotta face yourself. You can blame it on white, you can blame it on black. Blame it on rich, you can blame it on fat. You can blame it on anybody but yourself. You can blame it on men, blame it on crack. You can blame it on the government. You can blame anybody but yourself.